Da, da, da.
Talking
pictures.
Talking pictures. Here is Elders Over Swimmers by Katherine Bradford. This painting is featured in an exhibition in Korea. I think it's closing shortly, and the title of the exhibition is Living a Dream. And a lot of the paintings seem to be sort of treading that space between reality and a dream world. This painting really, really stood out to me. I think it is just the most incredible use of blue and orange together. They are opposite each other on the colour wheel, so basically it's just a symphony of blue with nudges towards purple, pink, blue, a tiny bit towards like the green side with the aqua and the turquoise. Very gentle, abstract, dreamlike, just enough information to create a story without overwhelming us with detail and without dictating too much about what the painting means. I think it's a very generous painting that allows the viewer to read into it in the way that they want to. So for me, this is obviously, I didn't know the title, but I felt it was about ancestors versus reality, and it seems to be some people living their life in the foreground. It's like a leisure situation with swimmers, and they're all together. They all look a bit lost and kind of almost like they're frozen and captivated by something. I mean, even there's a guy on the right there that's sort of swimming, but it's very slow. They kind of remind me of, you know, when you look at the deep sea and there's all those really colourful fish, but they can't see, and they're all just sort of going about their business, and they don't know that they're being watched. It kind of has that feel about it. So they're sort of going about their business, swimming, also in a sort of zombie way, and they seem to be captivated, their attention, by these figures at the top who are the ancestors, the elders, and they're watching down on them, and they're dressed very nicely, like properly. The woman on the left seems to have like a lace sort of collar. Her hands are nicely sort of placed like a proper lady. The gentleman in the middle has a tie on, a jumper and a shirt and tie, which is quite an old-fashioned way of dressing. He's gesturing to the woman in a sort of gentlemanly kind of way, as if to say, your turn to speak, your turn to make a decision. I get the sense that they're sort of together making decisions about the people down below, not in a menacing way, maybe in sort of like a subtle guidance sort of way. They look like they're in a position of authority because they earned it, because they're older in age. They look like sort of good Christians or something who are maybe implementing God's will or the right path for these people. That's the story enough for me, and from there it just happens in my imagination about the invisible lines between the people and the elders, and that's done with colour. So you have this sort of main figure in the middle who's very pink with the lilac shorts, and I feel like there's like a psychic connection between the two women. Their faces are very pink, and the pink is like the same sort of pink that's his skin. Obviously theirs has been toned down. The man's hand is also that pink. So I'm looking at this figure first, and then I'm looking at the two ladies, and then I'm looking down at the hand, and then I look across the left to the lady's hands, and they are so interesting. They're like very abstract. They're just hands, barely hands. They're just the most basic illusion of fingers, and the light and the shadow is very, very simplified. I was literally painting hands the other day, and I thought they were so unbelievable, and it's almost easier to try and do hands properly with all the correct detail, because they're so odd. So when you try and do it in like this simplified, abstract, semi-abstract way, it's so hard to get that right, and you have to do that sort of in the most confident way that only a real artist with a vision can do. And obviously this is what Katherine Bradford has done here, because she just does that absolutely effortlessly, or it appears to be effortless. So we come to this lady on the left hand, and that brings me down to this figure here, because her left hand is very white, very strong colour compared to the rest of the picture, and so is this figure down here on the left. It's like this yellowish orange, and then you notice this triangle of yellowish orange which brings up to the guy, his jumper, and then down to the guy's figures on the right. From there, because of the triangle, I noticed this figure who's barely there in the front, and he is pinky purples, and that brings me to the figure on the right, the female, similar colours, and then the triangle with the lady on the left hand, and you see this lovely shape of the turquoise, her relationship with these two figures here with the turquoise trunks, and then this guy swimming off the painting. He's the only one that has like direction, so it's kind of like he's been dealt with and he's swimming on for his life. Maybe they come here to sort of convene with the elders, and then once they have the wisdom that they need, then they're off. I suppose that's what people do in a way, isn't it? They kind of go to places to worship or to find wisdom, like a yoga retreat or a church, and then they come together to find the answers to their questions, and then when they feel like they've got that guidance, then they depart and they go into the world, and then they put that into action, I guess. So this painting is sort of like an abstract version of interpretation of that process of worship or seeking guidance. But then you have this like three people who are convening, and you wonder if there's maybe this is a table, and the people, these are the ones we can see, but actually it's a big round table, and there's people around this table making decisions about the people that are on the table in the pool. I also wonder, because if you ignore the figures on the lower half, I wondered if maybe this painting started as like some sort of picture of people eating, or people sat at a food table, and that she added the figures afterwards. Or maybe she started with the figures below and then added the figures above afterwards, because it does feel like two totally different scales and two totally different worlds. But I just love it, and I love the blues, I love the warm ultramarine of the background, and that links to the lilac-y trunks at the bottom. And then you have these cold, barely there blues, that sort of purpley, cold, icy blues, and lots of scuffing colour all around that's just so delicious and layered. Yeah, it's a gorgeous piece, and quite big as well. I think in real life it would be quite impactful to be confronted with this painting, and also all the paintings in the exhibition, which do follow a similar theme of like that afterlife, real world versus dream world versus reality versus other dimensions. So yeah, that's it. That's called Elders Over Swimmers, and it was painted between 2023 and 2024, and it's by Katherine Bradford. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching.
Talking pictures.